Hi there, how are you? It's been a while and I'm really excited to be back today. Back in the saddle, as it were. So, no better person to help us get our ducks in a line than Vanessa Hunt, who is my guest today. Vanessa has written a book about Facebook marketing. She is a marketing guru. She speaks 3 languages. Is there anything cooler? And she really focuses on that CRM, which I am coming to find after doing a deep dive into Vanessa's assets online and having, multiple chats with her, is kind of the backbone of your marketing. So it's really great to have you here, Vanessa. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you, Stacia. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about all things marketing, CRM, how you can maximize your tech, lead generation, and the most important thing is, what do you do with them once you get them?
Exactly.
There's a journey going on there.
Yes, for sure.
Which I think, one of the things that as a small business we all need real help with. And that's where you come in, Vanessa, as our little pocket rocket, because without that plan, our business just kind of flops around a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult for everybody not to feel too overwhelmed these days. So many things going on, and I can really help people just focus on their niche and really understand, what are the things they have to do first.
Ah, bless you. The other thing is that's so cool is the fact that you do speak 3 languages besides English. And so that's left us open to having this amazing bilingual playlist, which I'm just delighted with. So let's talk about, how you got to be such a marketing whiz.
I think it really comes back to my love of languages. When you learn a new language, you are very interested in different people. You want to have good conversations and really get to know them. And for me, marketing is really just about communicating with your audience, helping educate them in the things that you can do. And I really think that love for marketing has come just from my interest in people and just speaking in general, I think.
Yeah, because it is about putting the word out there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people feel that they have to sell, but marketing, it really is just about having a conversation. And I don't think you have to be so salesy as people think. And that's really where I try to help companies see that just being themselves, knowing what their values are, and getting those across really clearly in their messaging is the first place to start.
Absolutely, because it's all about relationships, actually. And building relationships is the heart blood of business. And the marketplace is just that. It's like actually this interconnected community, isn't it, of people that are doing business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the great thing about it. There are so many networking companies, networking businesses or networking groups that you can join. And we're particularly lucky here in Buckinghamshire and Berkshire. There are many groups you can join. And it's finding the right ones for you. And, I've been working locally for about 5 years, really. Before that, I was traveling quite a lot, but really been focusing on local business in the last 4 or 5 years. And, I think it's pretty amazing how many businesses you can meet and really get to know in quite a short period of time just by getting out there and participating in those networks.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So we're going to take a deeper dive into this, finding out about networking, because you actually had a networking franchise yourself for about 5 years, didn't you?
It's not actually a franchise. So, it's something called Business Biscotti.
Okay.
A lady called Sue Reeves, who might be listening, actually founded the networking group. But she did invite me to run a group locally in Maidenhead. And so I've been running one at Bisham Abbey for the last 5 years. I'm still very much involved in that networking group, but not hosting the group now.
Okay.
But I've handed over the reins there, but I'm still, looking forward, for example, to going to Henley Networking Group tomorrow for Business Biscotti.
Okay, all right, yeah, because they are all over. There's several of them that kind of have dotted around and things like that, and they're a bit more of like a mid-morning group.
Yeah, 10 till 12, so gentle start, very informal, but also lots of opportunity as well to talk about your business and maybe do a short presentation to help people understand what you do.
Today, we're here with Vanessa Hunt talking about marketing. So sharpen your pencils and listen up. Vanessa, let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey, because it wasn't always a solo journey. Sometimes you were in other places. So how did you learn all your languages? Was this from school or?
Yeah, that's right. So I studied French and German at O-level many years ago, last year of O-levels. And as part of my studying journey, if you like, I had to choose the languages I wanted to go on to at university, planned to do French and German again for a long time. But before that, I spent a year working in hotels. I was actually a waitress in Austria and Switzerland, and we had to switch very quickly between French and German because we had different guests at the tables. And so I really learnt to speak quickly, change quickly. So sometimes if I hear a French word, I'm immediately in my French zone. So that was a year of, working in hotels. And then I also worked as a teaching assistant in Germany as part of my degree as well.
Okay. Well, see, there's nothing like immersion, and have to do it to get you doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit scary. And I'd spent so long telling people, I'm going to work abroad. I kind of got to the point where I had to do it. So, yeah.
Now, is it Italian that's your third language?
That's right, yes. So a few years ago, I was working for a company who I delivered French and German training for, and they asked me, could you also do training in Italian? I think you've got a spot of Italian. And I said, well, no. I said, I don't really speak fluently enough. But I saw it as a bit of a challenge and took some Italian lessons. Had a great teacher, Paola Melassino, if she's listening. And Paola took me through my training in Italian, and I learned to teach Salesforce in Italian.
Wow. I think Italian is like the best language ever.
Yeah, it is one of my favorites, I must say.
Interesting. Well, you just have an ear for languages then, I'd say. But did you find it fairly easy to learn?
Yeah, I think because if you speak one language, especially a Latin language, of course, then, the vocabulary is a little bit easier. And many years ago, I did a little bit of Latin as well. So, that always helps.
All right. Yeah, I remember when my son had a long time ago choose his languages at the secondary school level, and he wanted Italian, and they're like, we just do French, German, Spanish. And he's like, but Italian has the best food, and it sounds so romantic.
Definitely.
So why would you speak anything else? Speak a language which has the best food.
That's right.
So then, like I was saying, though, you weren't always a solopreneur. You've actually worked with a couple of companies and in various different, different industries. So what was your journey like to come to where you are now?
I think I was quite lucky in that I started working in IT straight out of uni, really. So worked on an IT project and really liked that IT environment where it's very deadline-driven, project focus, and lots of intense learning all in one go. I worked locally in Slough at ICI Paints for a company called CSC Computer Sciences, and that was really the start of working for consultancies. And then from there, I really got into CRM after a spate working for a company in Oxfordshire in marketing. So I was always working in systems-driven organisations, consultancies, learning new skills all the time, and really, focusing on how you can use technology to speed up your business. And I think I've learned pretty early on that actually it's the small things that make the big things happen. So I did a pretty dull job when I first started, which I wasn't so excited about. But that really got me into understanding process and systems and all the operational things that go on behind a business. So in the long run, it was a good learning exercise, but at the time it wasn't so exciting. But gradually I then got into CRM, and that's really where I found that being able to use my languages and those technical skills was what I enjoyed.
Okay, so that's why. And then when did you start off being, your solo business? When did you start that?
That was 13 years ago. And originally I started really working as a freelancer, so working for lots of different consultancies, training on their behalf. So I probably wouldn't say I was running a business. At that point, I was really a resource working on lots of different projects. And then about 5 years ago, that's really where I focused on helping smaller companies with their CRM and marketing, just because I think it's quite challenging in these larger projects. You don't see the immediate benefits. It takes a long time to roll out systems. It's getting quicker nowadays with the technology. But I think working with smaller companies between 1 and 50 or 100 employees, you can actually see the benefits of those systems, and you can actually speak to the people one-to-one. And I think that then drives the benefits faster, and helps you get that buy-in. And you can work with a CEO or an MD who really wants that business to use the CRM and maximize their investment and help people ultimately get the work done well.
Yeah, and I think it's a benefit for everybody because that is the key, I think, to any successful business is you've got some structures in place that, work for you and work for your clients because then they know where they're going and what's going on, and it just gives everybody a bit of peace of mind. So, as you say, it's the behind the scenes, the cogs and the wheels that make the machine turn, and then all the oily rags in between that grease those wheels. But if we don't have those very necessary administrative and structural things in place, then we are just flailing around.
Yeah, and I think everybody has challenges in terms of resource. We're all limited by the time we have available. We don't necessarily have all the skills in our teams all of the time, and so we just have to do things very efficiently. Mm-hmm. And it comes back to marketing really, because sometimes companies come to me and say, I want to do social media, we want to raise our profile. And the first thing that we really need to do is look at, well, what is your customer's experience right now? If I were to go and speak to your customers, what are the things they'd be complaining about? And what's your service like, your customer service? And can we make sure that we're keeping your current customers happy first before we start going out there trying to generate new leads?
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes where smaller businesses suffer. There's a lot of demand, to get new business and get new customers. But actually, we need to make sure that we keep our existing customer base, satisfied first.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that these people are returning customers as well, instead of just these one-off sort of things that, okay, they've got that skill, now let's move on and get some more.
Yeah, and it's actually much more rewarding to work with smaller companies that you see grow. I've worked with one small organisation. I think they had 10 people when we first started, and they've grown to about 40 or 50 now, and they're expanding their premises. And even if you're only a small part of that journey, maybe for a few weeks or a couple of months at a time, it's just great to see that they are progressing. And I do think that having the right systems in place can help you with that.
We're going to actually get further into this little question about what's a CRM and why do we all need one? Because you passionately believe that we should all have one, don't you?
I do. I think even a one-man band or a one-woman band at their kitchen table definitely needs a CRM, and probably needs one more than ever because, again, we're trying to juggle so many different things. So, yeah, it's just really good for helping you prioritise your work.
And then what exactly is a CRM?
So it means customer relationship management. So I'm going to use the word system. Most of the systems nowadays are, online websites, so it's all about cloud computing. But it really is just a system for keeping organised and managing those relationships with your customers, and indeed any business that you work with. So it could also be used for managing your relationships with your suppliers, managing relationships with business partners. So it's about managing those communications that we spoke about earlier, and ensuring that you deliver to your promises, really. If you've said you're going to follow up, when will you call, when will you email, and are you keeping things moving along?
That's brilliant. And I mean, it just is a kind of a no-brainer. It's like, well, yeah, of course I need to have a customer relation management plan or doing that in my business. But I think so many people don't understand what the machinations of that are, that, or even expectations of that are. I mean, I hear people saying, well, I need to build my client base before I get one of those. And then, of course, there's so many tools out there. Like, there are a lot of free ones. HubSpot is out there. Capsule is another one, I think. Now we're going to take a deep dive into CRMs, and that is your system to play by, which, when you explained it to me, I thought, of course, why don't I have one of these? A better one anyways. So it's a customer relationship management system. And how do we go through this? Tell us your approach to getting on board with one, because a lot of people just say, oh, just use a spreadsheet, or, well, they have like this Rolodex of cards or contacts that they call, and, no.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that your CRM is really good for is just helping you prioritize, as we said earlier. And, if you're just speaking to 10 or 20 people, then, yeah, you probably can manage that with an Excel spreadsheet. But really, in business nowadays, we probably need to be speaking to 50 or 100 or hundreds of people at any one point, depending on our business sector. And so trying to manage that within an Excel spreadsheet is pretty tricky. And it isn't just about, looking at emails and managing emails. A lot of the best CRM systems also allow you to integrate your marketing communications. So if you want to send emails out in an automated way or customize emails and personalize them, you can use, most CRMs to do that as well. You can also use them to schedule your social media in some cases.
Wow.
And also listen to what's going on in your Twitter feed or on Facebook. And so really it's about bringing as many different marketing activities into one place as possible.
That's insane, because I think I go to all these different places to do that, but no, you can do a one-stop shopping.
Yeah, I mean, there are different CRMs, and they do have different sort of specialities or features. So some of them will be better for that. Others might be better for project management. So if you have a very project-focused business, then something like Insightly CRM might be better for you. So there are many different systems, and I sort of specialise in that. I try to be agnostic. So, I'm not selling software. I'm selling the services that help you integrate that software or implement it and train you on it. So for me, it doesn't matter which system we choose.
Yeah.
It's about trying to find the one that you are going to use and that you feel most comfortable with. And, there's probably 70% of the functionality across systems that is quite similar. So it's finding the thing that really will make or break it for you with a particular system. Obviously, if budget were no issue, probably everybody would choose Salesforce. But, there are lots of different products at different levels. And so that comes back to understanding your business processes and who you're targeting in terms of your market, and then working out, what are the different processes that we must follow and ensure that you do the right things for those customers.
Okay, and you do a fair amount of training, which is really delightful as well. I mean, not only that you've come from a tech background and a systems management, project-based background, so all of this stuff makes complete sense to you, and you have, just an affinity for how to organize and do that. But the thing is that you'll understand the kind of the tools that are out there and what's the best tool for the best job, because there are a lot of them, like you said, there's budget, but when you're an entrepreneur, you're just so overwhelmed and you just want something that's going to help you.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to just get attracted to the shiny tools and not realize they're tools, and you actually have to, you program it and you tell it what to do and you use it. It's not doing anything for you.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately, there are, some CRM providers that maybe make it sound like it's easier than it is. It doesn't have to be complex, but if it isn't something that you do every day, then it's just going to take you more time, and that's the one thing that most people don't have. So whilst they probably could learn how to do everything themselves, they just don't have the time to do that. So that's why they would bring in a consultant or somebody to help them set it up. But there might, I've implemented some systems, and it might be a matter of hours, if it's a really, really simple process and a simple business. Other organisations might take, weeks, but hopefully not months. So I think it's about also helping people again find, well, what can we do today, and let's get that working properly, and then let's build on that, brick by brick. And so I have other organisations that, again, are local, who I work with once a month, and they come to me with their queries and questions, and we sort those out and address them, and then, we just do that on a gradual basis. So they're making progress whilst not feeling that it's onerous and, it's not too much of a hassle. And you get little quick wins, as you go along, just to keep you motivated, really.
Please.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's just talk a little bit about the tools that are out there. First of all, I did a little when I was talking about assets for a digital age and kind of making that distinction between tools and assets. Tools are not assets. They are just things that help you accomplish stuff in your business. The real assets are all the IP that you have, the methodology that you create, all of your content. That's an asset. And the tools are there to help me manage that. So there are, like I mentioned, HubSpot is one and Capsule is another, but there are several free ones that are out there. And And would you rate any of those? And like Salesforce is the, the kind of the gold standard of CRM in the industry. And then kind of what the bells and whistles that have, and then what are these other free ones do they offer? Because they all have a step up.
Most of them all have, different plans or different editions. So generally there is a free version that you can at least trial for a few weeks. And for some companies that can be enough. If you really just need to be able to have, a central place or repository for your information about your customers and the tasks that you have to perform for them, you can do that with some of the free ones. Insightly has a free version. There are others. HubSpot does have a free CRM as well. Often people will put a free version out there because they actually want to entice you to use a slightly more complex version, or they don't give you all of the functionality that you'd get. But even if you're paying, anywhere between, 15 and £25 a month, if you're using it and it's making your life easier and it's allowing you to automate some of the things that you might do manually, keep writing the same types of email over and over again. Perhaps you have certain tasks that you have to carry out throughout your sales process. And again, you don't want to have to keep creating those manually. You can automate that. So you're saving minutes, and it may not sound very much, but if, again, you multiply that across the number of companies that you're talking to, you can quickly save your £25 or £35 a month very easily. And so I think a lot of people will sign up and get a great piece of software that maybe makes some nice pictures and adds quotes to it, but then they might balk at paying that for a CRM system. And actually, it's the CRM system that's really going to make the difference. Of course, you can create beautiful assets and nicely designed things for your marketing, but ultimately it's the relationship that the CRM helps you manage.
Okay. And so what's the basic, what is a basic CRM that, what's the information that you have to put in there, that you have to have? If you were to set me up on a basic one, what would it be? And then what are the options to, gradually then grow it?
Yeah, so assuming that you have, the name of a person and the company that they work for, already you could start adding that to your CRM, and that would then allow you to look at, the tasks that you need to carry out for that particular customer. It maybe, organise the meetings that you have with them, bring everybody else from your team, if you have one, into those meetings. So it's just about making sure that you've got that company information, and basically you want to probably categorize it as well. So perhaps you're looking at which sectors you're getting most of your leads from. Perhaps you're finding that there's a particular demand in one area for a particular type of service that you provide. So, you'll also start adding information about the type of sale that you're looking to make in order to meet that customer's needs. And I think sometimes people think, well, I'm doing all of these different things, but, what's the one thing that people keep asking you to do?
Yeah.
And is there a specific demand? And so your CRM, by creating something called an opportunity against an account, that will allow you to start seeing what are the types of opportunity that you regularly get. And it also helps you see, well, have I got all of the resources that I need in place for me to be able to deliver that for my customers? So, you can set up with basic, name and address, the information that you've got on a business card. Of course, you need to make sure that you ask people that they're happy for you to communicate with them for business purposes. So we certainly don't want to spam people with lots of emails. But, on the whole, I find that customers are really happy when you do follow up regularly. Like when people sometimes go really quiet and you don't hear from them. Often priorities just come out of nowhere, and your client may want to carry on, but other things are distracting them. So by helping keep them on track, you're helping drive that relationship and helping them make progress too. So, so they're usually thankful for that.
Yeah, definitely. And people, you need to feed your community and your tribe, and they do want to hear from you. I think, we all do ourselves down and think, oh, I don't want to bug people, or I don't want to do this. But then it's like I was saying, with LinkedIn, for instance, because I do a live just before the show, and when I was off for those 3 weeks, I kept getting this poke from my email going, hey, there's a bunch of people that are looking at your site. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why. And it's like, well, of course, because they want us, they're tuning in. They're tuning in. So thank you all, you faithful out there that tuned in and were looking and wondering where I was. I'm here. I'm back. And I'm going to get with a CRM and get it together. So you hear from me more often and more regularly, because that was the other thing that I thought was interesting, using a CRM helps you also set you up with your to-do list right then and there. You don't have to get distracted or wade through a bunch of emails or, yes, do a weekly review, but we're looking at a to-do list to drive our business rather than, something that's a little bit more focused, I'd say.
Yeah, and a lot of these systems, they may also include something called lead scoring. So they'll help you identify, which are the people that are perhaps more likely to buy this month or this quarter. So that might, again, if you've got limited time, that might help you prioritize who you're going to respond to first. Or if you've got a particular client that has got certain deadlines that they need to meet, maybe because of their industry or they've got a particular event coming up, then you know that you need to be able to respond to them much faster. So they often give you lots of visual clues and make it really easy for you to see, what I really have to do next.
Okay, wonderful. So I hope you are all converted now. And we'll give you more information on how you can find the one that's right for you, some tips and tricks, because Vanessa, you do a lot of training, as I was mentioning before, and so you can clue us up into things that are coming up and stuff from that. So we were talking about CRM, and the thing is you got to put something in that thing. So lead generation, how do we do that? How do we affect lead generation, and then what do we do with them when we get them?
So your website is really one of the main places where you should be generating leads. So if you've got the right kind of content on your website, people come to your website and they recognize immediately, what you can do to help them, then you will automatically generate leads through the website itself. If that's not happening, you might need some help looking at your niche or buyer personas. So who are you trying to write for? And we can't attract every single customer in the world. There are going to be certain, markets or sectors that we want to specialize in. So having, engaging content and good resources on your website is the first thing. So you can, and the great thing is that you can use analytics to fine tune what's on your site. Of course, the other way of getting great leads is through referral. So that's back to building your networks through networking, speaking to people, that maybe are related to the businesses that you'd like to speak to, and referring businesses that you know and trust to your own customers. So making sure that, you kind of give what goes around, so if you can help your customers find other suppliers and do things that you don't do yourself, I think you also start building some extra value around your own brand. So I think it really is the offline and online elements together that create those leads. And of course, there are some bigger things you can do, like running exhibitions or taking part in conferences or speaking. But the great thing about a CRM is that if you are generating the leads directly through your website, those will also create records for you in your system. So they just save you a little bit of admin. And also the great thing is that you can often see, well, what were they looking at on the website? Assuming that people have accepted those cookies, they can give you some really valuable information to know which pages are working best for you. Okay,
that's really good. And one of the things that came up in our discussion is like a lot of people think, well, I'll just pump out all the content on social media. And yes, but I remember you saying, your online persona should mirror your offline persona. So what you're doing offline should mirror what you're doing online, rather than hiding behind that all the social media platforms or thinking that's it,
Yeah, I was reading a book recently where they were saying that, when social media became a great big thing, a lot of corporates were really cutting their advertising budget online, and that was a huge mistake, because it really is just an addition to your normal marketing resources. So it isn't a replacement. Obviously, there are some things it does a lot better. So you can do things much more, live and in, just in time than we could do with print and, creating catalogues and things like that in the past. And also you've got the measurement, but, if you want to, for example, fill a workshop, you've got to talk about it in person as well as, online. And, you still have to devote a significant amount of time to both. So maybe you have a business where you can just do everything online, but it's quite rare, depending on, what it is that you're doing. So just making sure that everything is joined up, and also that you're making the most of the things that you're doing. So being on the radio today, obviously, we talked about that on social media. Might have mentioned it to people in passing. So just really maximising all of the content that you've got and the stories that you have to share.
Yeah, and going live online as well, which is kind of like that middle ground, because then they can get a sense of you and hear your voice, and it's just a bit more live. It's a bit more dimensional, a bit more dynamic, and it's easier actually to consume.
Yeah, I think a lot of different people have different preferences. So it's definitely going to have an audience where they do love watching videos. Others might be in the office and not be able to, and that's why you need to have captions, or you maybe mix it up with some written content, video. And even, podcasts as well.
Now, you mentioned about the training, because you do a lot of training yourself. And so what would you say is the sort of the lead time to generate a campaign and get that going?
Yeah, it depends on the time of year. So, a lot of sort of periods in the year can be a little bit quieter. So I certainly have noticed a bit of a drop over the summer. People do take time off. A lot of mums, will take off time with their children. So, people just aren't as available as they used to be in those summer months. So generally anything between 3 and 6 months for any kind of event that you're running. And and it's kind of frightening, because often, people do decide to do things last minute, myself included.
Yeah.
And you think,
me too.
I'll get loads of people along. And, unfortunately, people's diaries are just packed. So trying to plan things, at least 3 months in advance is ideal, and ideally even longer. So 6 months, I would say, for, quite a significant event that you're running.
Okay, yeah, that is something, because I used to think a month.
Good luck with that.
It's like 4 weeks is just like, So that's, and then you go, oh, nobody wanted it. It's like, well, they couldn't plan, you have to plan these things. And some people do, just like we all do. They set up their diaries, sit down, plan, put all the things in, and then what time is left over, they're actually doing daily operational stuff, or leaving windows of time open for new things that might be coming in. So,
But and to give you an example, I'm taking part in an exhibition next year in March, and already, what is it? It's July. So already, we're preparing content for that. The online brochure's going out. So, things happen, for huge exhibitions or conferences, you're looking at more like 9 months or a year.
You do a lot of training, as we said, and some one-to-one coaching. So, and it's more of a pop-up cafe that you have on Facebook. So, talk to us about and if you're wondering what the name of her business is, it is her name. It's Vanessa Hunt Consulting, and she has a beautiful butterfly as the logo. And what's the significance of the butterfly?
So Vanessa is actually a genus or a type of butterfly. So I've always loved, I love nature. I love taking photographs of flowers, and I think butterflies are just beautiful. And it just seemed like an obvious choice for my logo. And I think the fact that, butterflies obviously transform from something a little bit ugly into something beautiful. I think it's the same way with marketing too, that we can really transform those relationships. And I think also, having something that stands out. Butterflies have beautiful colours and such different patterns. I think everybody can be different and unique.
And then did you say about, luminous as being the word?
Numinous, yes. So one of my favourite words at the moment is numinous, which means describing an experience that makes you fearful yet fascinated, awed yet attractive. The powerful personal feeling of being overwhelmed and inspired. So I think that if you can find a niche or a business that makes you feel numinous, then I think that's a pretty good place.
Numinous sounds good. That sounds like that definitely sounds like my business. That's really, really good. So you are offering a couple of things. So you have a book that you've written called Facebook Inspiration, which is a book on how to do Facebook marketing.
Yeah, so I was helping people, training people on Facebook, and realised that there was, quite a need for knowing, well, what do I post? It's fairly easy to do it, just click and put a picture up, but where do I even start with the kinds of content to share? And so the book was really born out of that back in 2017, and it's still selling well. It sells in the US as well, and in the UK and across Europe. So that was a really great project and one of my favourite creations. And then using that as really...
Fantastic. And then you do the monthly marketing guidance is your package offer. And how do we get in touch with you? What's your website address?
So the website is vanessahunt.co.uk, and there are lots of details on there about CRM and marketing. And yeah, one of the things I've been focusing on lately is this marketing guidance package. So that's meeting with people every month, a couple of times, and then helping focus on their marketing strategy and the actions they need to take.
Okay, very cool. And then you're also, you do social media, so you're on LinkedIn.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, should have mentioned all those as well. So, yeah, of course, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Great. And how do we find you on LinkedIn? Is just your name, Vanessa Hunt?
Yeah, I've got a company page, but yeah, just me is probably easiest.
And then what's your Twitter handle?
Actually, my Twitter handle is a little bit different. It's @trainer_CRM.
Okay. And then Facebook is pretty easy. You have a Facebook page, don't you?
Yeah, so that's Vanessa Hunt Consulting. So, yeah, definitely post on there very regularly. So, obviously, was speaking about this morning, this interview.
Excellent.
And, come find me on Facebook.
Brilliant. Just to find out a little bit more about Vanessa, what are 3 things that are the best things you did when you started your business?
Oh, goodness. Right. So I think probably, the best thing was probably LinkedIn at the time. So I didn't have a website. I probably spent the first 6 years just using LinkedIn.
Wow.
So I would tell people what I was up to. And I got many inquiries through there. One company was from Canada, and then I ended up working across Europe for them. And ironically, they actually had an office in Bourne End, where I live. But the person that initially contacted me was in Canada and looking for an Italian-speaking trainer. So LinkedIn was definitely my network at that time. Also, I think the fact that I'd worked for a lot of different companies and built up quite a network before I started. So I was able to go back to some of my previous employers and work for them on a part-time basis.
Okay.
So that was perfect. And then I think really just adapting quickly to the market. So originally I was working in Siebel, which was, the leading CRM at the time. And, that went a little bit quiet. So I was doing lots of different training on management, report writing, time management skills. And then I found my feet with Salesforce and then other CRMs thereafter. So I think just, being curious, wanting to learn and adapting to the market, probably the main things you need to do.
Okay. Well, there's some big lessons that you learned as well.
Yeah, I think I've always, right from the beginning, I've never specialised in one thing. I'm very aware that things can change. You can always have the next best thing.
Yeah.
And smaller businesses can creep up on those larger corporates as well. So you just have to be agile, and I prefer to be working in lots of different things rather than focusing on just one CRM. I like the fact that I get to learn about lots of different things, and also, you can adapt to those markets and grow with them.
Yeah, great. And what's one thing that you can recommend everyone stop doing right this minute?
I think the main thing would be to stop doing unfocused marketing. So I think it doesn't take a lot for a small business to work out who they really would like to approach, and that's all around having buyer personas and being really clear on your niche. But it's very difficult to write convincing and compelling marketing messages when you're trying to reach everybody. So just getting really clear on your niche will help you start to write really good blogs and will help you focus your marketing content on your website and so on. So I would stop the working without buyer personas.
Okay. All right. I've been told. So what are 3 things that we can start doing right now?
3 things that you could start doing are starting to really look at the kind of technology and skills that can help you do things better. Rather than maybe spending your budget on lots of little things, thinking about the really big things that would make the largest difference. So a lot of people say to me, I don't really have enough money to invest in CRM, but they might spend that budget on other things that are important, but maybe not as important. So yeah, talking about the shiny things we talked about earlier. So starting to invest in your skills. Also looking at how you can find the right businesses to work with. So getting really clear about the people that also have the same values as you and deliver the quality that you provide. And then, as I said, starting on defining your niche and those buyer personas.
Okay, so there you go. And if you don't know anything about that, get on to Vanessa. She can sort you out with a package and get you on the right track. But, hopefully, we'll see some of our listeners and me at the September blogging workshop, which sounds amazing. It's September 20th, and it's at Bisham Abbey. And if you are thinking about, a little summer reading, business reading, include Facebook inspirations.
Thank you.
Learn how to do that. Thank you so much for coming on today and giving our Monday some clarity.
Thanks very much for having me.